Hi guys. We're we're on the home stretch of our ecology project, and I am impressed. I love it. I love learning. I hope you had as much fun with your virtual trip planning as I did. And I can't wait to see what you guys came up with. Today, we're going to add a couple of more slides, and then tomorrow we'll add one more final slide, knowing that the entire project, the entire presentation is due on Friday, May 15th. One of the slides I thought would be interesting to have is just now that you've picked a virtual location to visit, what was that location and what was it like? And what is life like there? So I just Google searched life in a mangrove wetland. And so, my mud skipper, I'm going to go to the mangrove reserve and I'm going to visit, and it's those mangrove wetlands. So the mangroves are these trees, and these roots can be submerged in water. Super cool. Leaf litter, detritus, decomposers. We've got this beautiful ecosystem that works to keep everything in balance. I've got my nutrients balanced. I've got my gases, balanced. I've got my nitrogen balanced. I've got my carbon balanced, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The challenge, if you went to a laboratory for your virtual field trip, is okay. So you did a bacteria and you went to a laboratory to research it. I wonder if you could find something about decomposers, or maybe that bacteria's role in the environment. Same with fungi if you did that. So part of it is, just getting creative and knowing that not everybody's slide is going to look the same, and just persevering through this. So the next slide that I want you to focus on is, what is the habitat like and what are their benefits? And so thinking about what is the benefit of, if you're doing like E. coli or bacteria, what is the benefit of that in an ecosystem? If you're doing lions, what is the benefit of having a healthy savanna? If you're doing, a type of frog, what is the benefit of having that tropical wet environment? For my mangrove forest, I just did a simple description. And again, I didn't copy and paste. I looked at a bunch of websites and then I synthesized and summarized the information. Mangrove habitats are areas of waterlogged, salty soils in zones affected by tides. So the tide comes in and out. When the tide comes in, everything's flooded. When the tide goes out, everything gets dried up. It's those tidal zones. The Mangrove Reserve in Singapore, the Sungai Buloh Wetland Reserve, my virtual location, is tropical and rich in diversity of not only the animals of the region, but plants as well as migratory birds. I did find this, I should have put this in quotes, this ecological jewel, because on a website that I went to, I found out that locally in Singapore, this mangrove wetland reserve habitat is known as an ecological jewel. So why? What are the benefits of having this really healthy mangrove ecosystem, and why would scientists want to preserve and save it? So like if you're doing a species like an armadillo, why are they important in their ecosystem? What's going on? And so the benefits of having a really healthy ecosystem where my mud skippers are part of is this thing about the carbon cycle. So one of the challenges in our world is we're digging up stored carbon in the form of coal, oil, natural gas, and we're burning it. And when we burn it, we're using that heat to convert to electrical energy, electricity. Colorado's doing this. But what happens is that stored carbon that wasn't in our atmosphere is now burned, and those molecules are now in our atmosphere. And we're adding way more carbon to our atmosphere than the trees can handle to then take in that carbon, make sugar, release O2. So we do know that the way to reduce carbon in the atmosphere is to add more trees. But we also know that some areas and ecosystems actually work as what we call a carbon sink. Ocean habitats and environments can be carbon sinks, where that carbon goes into the system and gets stored. Mangrove forests work as a carbon sink. A lot of when that cycle goes in, that carbon is stored in that organic, rich material. Plants will use that, and instead of being let off as gas, that ecosystem takes those gases in and stores them. That is a beautiful thing. We want those. Another beneficial role of my habitat, of my mangrove, is it filters nutrients. So as water comes in and out, the other thing that's shown here is like, do you see where this says rainfall runoff? Coming down rivers, rainfall into this ecosystem, as the rain comes down, it gets filtered through a lot of these plant roots. And those plant roots will filter out some of the nutrients, the good things that come down and will enrich this ecosystem, but it also filters out pollutants. So if I think about what's coming down, instead of going into my open water, it gets filtered in this marshy mangrove habitat ecosystem. So that's a really vital role. Acts as a barrier from coastal storms. This is what has happened in Louisiana with Hurricane Katrina. One of the things that as we degrade those marshes were so dense with plants, and they were like stable, that when a big hurricane came in, the marsh actually literally acted like a speed bump. Yes, the hurricane went over the marsh, but it got slowed down. Well, now as these marshes get destroyed, the speed bump is gone. And when the hurricane comes, it just hits land with all its force instead of getting slowed down. So that barrier is an important role that this ecosystem plays. Obviously, well, not obviously, but one of the roles that if I'm in this ecosystem and I want to, you'll see humans here. Humans benefit a lot from healthy ecosystems. Humans that are like the local. So it wouldn't benefit this mangrove forest, this reserve, to farm a bunch of plankton, or a bunch of mollusks, a bunch of mussels, and sell them internationally, right? That would deplete their ecosystem too quickly. What would be beneficial is it's used locally. It's balanced the way it used. They don't use too much. They don't use too little. It's that perfect balance. And so humans definitely benefit. And then, of course, the last one that I love is the tourism role. So one of the things that Costa Rica did, which is brilliant, is they have a really strong education system. At one point, and it could still be true, I'm not sure, the literacy rate, how many people could read and write in Costa Rica, was higher than it is in the United States. Costa Rica put a lot of its energy into education, because if they could help their kids and their population understand the role of the rainforests and understand the role of ocean ecosystems and turtles nesting, then the people will want to take care of it. And if people want to take care of it, then they can work for the tourism company. So that mangrove reserve that I'm going to visit, that we virtually visited, that's going to hire local people who then can educate foreigners and tourists, and as well as their local people. The last thing we want to talk about today is, what are the threats to this habitat? So why are we worried about your habitat? Why are we worried about, mudskippers in general, there's a couple species that are sort of endangered, but most are not. And I think part of it is in places of the world where they exist, the population isn't that big. And there's not a lot of like factories and things, but some of you are studying organisms that are actually at risk. Some of you are studying organisms that are the risk, like they are causing the habitat to decline. And so why do we care about these healthy habitats? Here's our reasons. We care about a healthy mangrove forest because of these following benefits. Well, what is causing that mangrove forest to be unhealthy? Humans are draining wetlands for development. So, wouldn't that be a beautiful place to build a house? Yay! Well, it's muddy and marshy. Okay, let's bring in a bunch of sand and fill it in and then build a house on it. Bad idea. This happens a lot in North Carolina, where my parents live. The wetlands are being drained to plant crops, grow cows, whatever, search for oil, do construction. The draining of a wetland is always a bad idea. The threats really, like if the wetlands role of filtering those pollutants as they come down, if it's too much, it's too much. If we are bombarding our ecosystems, our river ecosystems from upstream with pollutants, as it comes down, it's too much. And it's going to damage the health of our mangrove forest. If people create dams along rivers, that disrupts the flow of water. Flooding is normal, and we definitely see that out west in Colorado and Utah and Arizona and whatnot with the damming of rivers. When non-native species are introduced, and so you had an opportunity to learn a little bit about invasive species if you've been in Mrs. Miller's class. If you've been in my class, and we were doing weather before break or before this remote learning, we haven't really talked about that so much. So I put a video up there for you to learn a little bit about invasive species. So if a species is brought to an ecosystem, either intentionally or non-intentionally, and that species does damage to that ecosystem, we call it invasive. Introduced species, like I just brought something here and it's living and it's not really, causing any problems. Climate change. So as our temperature changes, as our weather patterns change, as climate warms our oceans and changes the pH, that is definitely affecting my mangrove wetlands. And then, of course, overfishing. If I go in and I take too much out, then that balance gets upset. And that's a big thing in the ecosystem. So you're going to add 3 slides today. You're going to add life, a picture, balance of where you live, slide 1, or add it to your slides. Just a little bit of a habitat description with the benefits, and then what are the threats to your habitat. And that's what I'm excited to look for when you turn your presentation in. I'll see you soon.